Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we are, well, kind of strapping on our VR headsets, and we're diving into the world of using cutting-edge technology in education. Specifically, how can we best support kids with ASD? So get ready for some serious light bulb moments as we unpack a fascinating systematic review all about how AR, VR, and even robotics are changing the game for these really awesome learners.
Yeah, it's not science fiction anymore. This is the real deal, and the research backing it up is seriously impressive. This review that we're looking at today actually analyzed 42 different high-quality studies. So think about that. It's not just reading a couple of articles. These researchers, they went deep, 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 pulling data from all sorts of sources. PubMed, IE Explore. They even looked on Google Scholar. Talk about a panoramic view of what's happening in the field right now.
Okay, so 42 studies. That's a lot of data. I'm already feeling smarter just thinking about it. So what's the headline here? Give me the biggest takeaway that just blew your mind.
Honestly, for me, the sheer potential of AR to actually help develop social skills in kids with ASD just floored me. Just imagine creating a safe space where kids can practice real-life social interactions, learning how to understand people's facial expressions, decoding social cues, and even boosting their language skills, all through AR. It's like a virtual boot camp to help these kids navigate the social world.
Well, hold on. Okay, that sounds amazing. But how does it actually work? Can you give me like a real-world example?
Absolutely. So picture this. A child is trying to learn a new word. Instead of just staring at a boring old picture in a textbook, they can actually interact with a 3D model of the object. Through AR, they're hearing how to pronounce it correctly, and they're even seeing it used in different contexts. And that's the magic of AR right there. It transforms learning from passive to active and makes it engaging and so much more effective.
Okay, starting to get it. So AR is bringing the learning to life. No more of those dusty old textbooks. What about VR? Does it offer the same kind of advantages for kids with ASD?
So VR, it brings its own unique superpowers to the table. It's fantastic for social skills training,
Hmm.
and especially for addressing very specific challenges, like phobias. So imagine a child who's terrified of dogs. VR can actually create a controlled environment where they can gradually interact with the virtual dog. They can start building their confidence and coping skills all at their own pace. So it's like exposure therapy, but in a safe and empowering virtual world.
That's powerful, but does it really translate to the real world? I mean, can these VR experiences actually help kids overcome their fears in real life?
So there was a study in 2022 by Frawley and his team. They found that VR training can actually be more effective than traditional methods in helping kids with ASD. Learn to recognize and understand emotions. And that's not just basic emotions. We're talking about those complex secondary emotions.
Hmm.
And that's a game changer, right? VR could be the key to unlocking emotional intelligence and breaking down those communication barriers.
Wow, that's incredible. So we've got AR for learning and social skills, VR for tackling phobias and building emotional intelligence. What else? Did this review uncover any other mind-blowing applications of this technology for kids with ASD?
Oh, yeah. Hold on tight. Because this next part is where things get really futuristic. So this review actually delves into the world of large language models, LLMs, if you're in the know, and how these can be combined with AR and VR to create like a hyper-personalized learning experience for kids with ASD.
Okay, pause for a second. LLMs. I'm familiar with ASD, but this AI stuff, this is new territory for me. Break it down for me. What are LLMs and why should I even care about them?
All right, so think of LLMs as the brains behind those super smart chatbots you've probably heard of. Now imagine integrating those LLMs into these AR and VR environments. You suddenly have a virtual tutor who can adapt to each child's individual needs, who can give them real-time feedback. They can even act as a communication assistant. It's like having a personalized learning companion right there in the virtual world with them.
Okay, now that is mind-blowing. So it's like each child has their own AI guide in these AR and VR experiences, tailoring the learning just for them.
Exactly, and the possibilities are endless. This review actually highlighted a study that was presented at a big tech conference this year, where the researchers created this LLM-powered chatbot called Cha-Cha. And get this, Cha-Cha actually helped kids express their emotions in a way that they felt comfortable with. It's like having a digital confidant who understands and supports their emotional journey.
It's incredible. It's like technology is finally catching up with the unique needs of kids with ASD. But with all this amazing tech, isn't there a risk of forgetting the human element? I mean, are we going to replace teachers with robots and therapists with chatbots?
That's a great question, and it's actually something the researchers addressed head-on. This technology isn't about replacing human connection, it's about enhancing it. Think of it like a toolbox, filled with powerful tools that teachers and therapists can use to create more engaging and more effective learning experiences.
Hmm. So robots in the classroom. Are we talking about those cute little robots I've seen in videos, or is this something completely different?
Yeah, you're on the right track. Research on robotics in ASD education, it's still in its early stages, but there's growing evidence that robots can actually be incredible tools for social skill development and even therapy.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How do robots actually help kids with ASD? I mean, they're not exactly human.
Right, and that's part of their appeal. Robots offer consistent and predictable interactions, which can be super comforting for kids who might find human interaction a little bit overwhelming or unpredictable. They're
Yeah.
like social skills buddies who are always patient and always understanding.
So like a robot best friend. I love it. But seriously, can they actually teach social skills?
Absolutely. Robots can be programmed to model very specific social behaviors, like making eye contact, taking turns in a conversation, or even responding to emotions. And kids can practice these skills with a robot in a safe, judgment-free environment. It's like having a personal social skills coach that's available 24/7.
Wow. Robots, LLMs, AR, VR. It's like we're stepping into a sci-fi movie here. But with all this talk about this amazing potential, were there any challenges or limitations that the researchers highlighted?
One thing that kept coming up was the need for more personalization. While these technologies are light years ahead of where they were just a few years ago, we still need to do a better job of tailoring them to the unique needs of each child. Remember, ASD is a spectrum, and what works for one child might not work for another.
So we need to move away from that one-size-fits-all approach and really embrace the individuality of each child.
Exactly. Imagine a future where these technologies are so sophisticated that they can adapt to a child's learning pace, their preferences, even their sensory sensitivities. That's the holy grail. Truly personalized learning experiences.
Okay, so more personalization is key. Were there any other challenges that the researchers emphasized?
Another big one is the need for more rigorous research and evaluation. What the studies in this review are super promising. We need more large-scale, long-term studies to really understand the long-term impact of these technologies on kids with ASD.
So we need to temper our excitement with a healthy dose of scientific rigor.
Exactly. And it's not just about measuring those academic outcomes, but it's also about things like social emotional development, quality of life, even family dynamics. We need a holistic approach to truly evaluate the impact of these technologies.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a revolution in education for kids with ASD, but we need to proceed with caution and make sure we're doing it right. So what's the next step? Where do we go from here?
I think the most important thing is to involve kids with ASD and their families in the design and development process. Their voices need to be heard. They're the ultimate experts on their own needs and experiences.
I love that. It's a powerful reminder that technology should be a tool for inclusion and empowerment, not just a shiny new toy. Well, this has been an incredible journey so far. We've gone from basic definitions to mind-blowing possibilities. What else is in store for us in the final part of this deep dive?
Yeah, so we talked about AR and VR, and now it's time to bring in another player, and that's robotics.
Yeah.
So while research on using robots in ASD education, it's still fairly new, there's a growing body of evidence that shows that robots can be amazing tools to help with social skill development and even therapy.
Okay, I'm really intrigued by this. But how do robots help kids with ASD? I mean, they're not human, are they?
Well, that's actually part of the appeal. Robots offer these really consistent and predictable interactions, which can be super comforting for kids who might find human interaction overwhelming or unpredictable. Think of them like social skills buddies who are always patient and always understanding.
So a robot best friend. I love that. But can they really teach social skills?
Oh, absolutely. So robots can be programmed to model very specific social behaviors, like making eye contact, taking turns in a conversation, or even responding to emotions. And kids can practice these skills with the robot in a safe, judgment-free environment. It's kind of like having a personal social skills coach, available 24/7.
Wow. Okay, so we've got robots, LLMs, AR, and VR. It's like we've stepped into a sci-fi movie.
Oh.
But with all this talk about this amazing potential, did the researchers highlight any challenges or limitations with this technology?
Yeah, one thing that kept popping up was this need for more personalization. Yes, these technologies are light years ahead of where they were just a few years ago, but we still need to do a better job of really tailoring them to the unique needs of each individual child. Remember, ASD is a spectrum, and what works for one child might not work for another.
Right. So we really need to move away from that one-size-fits-all approach and embrace the individuality of each child.
Exactly. I mean, imagine a future where these technologies are so advanced that they can actually adapt to a child's learning pace, their preferences, even their sensory sensitivities. And that's the holy grail, isn't it? Truly personalized learning experiences.
That's incredible. So more personalization is key.
Yeah.
Were there any other challenges that the researchers talked about?
Yeah, another big one is this need for more rigorous research and evaluation. While the studies that were included in this review are very promising, we need more large-scale, long-term studies to really understand the long-term impact of these technologies on kids with ASD.
So we need to balance our excitement with some healthy scientific skepticism.
Exactly. And it's not just about measuring academic outcomes. We also need to look at things like social-emotional development, their quality of life, even family dynamics. We need a holistic approach to truly understand the impact of these technologies.
It sounds like we are on the verge of a real revolution in how we educate kids with ASD. But we need to proceed carefully and make sure we're doing it right. So what's the next step? Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the most important thing is to make sure that kids with ASD and their families are actually involved in the design and development of these tools. You know their voices need to be heard. They are the ultimate experts on their own needs and experiences.
I really love that. It's a great reminder that technology should be a tool for inclusion and empowerment, and not just a shiny new toy. Well, this has been an incredible journey so far. We've gone from these basic definitions to some really mind-blowing possibilities. So what else can we look forward to? In this final part of our deep dive, welcome back to the deep dive, you guys. We've been exploring all this amazing potential of using AR and VR and robotics for supporting kids with ASD. But just like any really powerful tool, there's always a flip side, right? So in this final part, let's get real about those potential challenges and pitfalls.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't just get swept up.
Yeah.
All the shiny new tech without considering the potential downsides. Responsible innovation means asking tough questions.
So hit me with it. What are the big ethical concerns we should be thinking about when it comes to using this technology with kids with ASD?
Okay, well, one of the biggest red flags for me is data privacy. These technologies can gather so much information about a child's behavior, their preferences, even their physical movements in these virtual spaces. You have to be super careful about how that data is used and stored and protected, especially for vulnerable populations like children.
It's like we're opening up this Pandora's box of sensitive data, and we definitely don't want that information falling into the wrong hands or being used in ways that could actually harm these kids.
Exactly. And that actually brings us to the whole issue of informed consent. Children, especially those with ASD, they might not fully understand the implications of using these technologies or how their data is being collected. So we really need to find age-appropriate ways to explain these concepts to them and make sure that they're giving their consent in a way that's truly informed and freely given, and ideally with parental involvement every step of the way.
Yeah, it's about respecting their autonomy and making sure that they have a voice in how their personal information is being used. We don't want to create a situation where they feel like your privacy is being violated.
Absolutely. And then there's this whole question of access. Right now, these technologies can be very expensive, and access to trained professionals who actually know how to use them effectively can be limited. So we need to make sure that these tools aren't just available to the privileged few. We need to make them accessible to all children who could benefit, regardless of their socioeconomic background or where they live.
It's a matter of social justice, right? I think we don't want to create a digital divide where only some kids have access to these amazing learning opportunities. We need to level the playing field.
I couldn't agree more. And let's not forget the potential for overuse or inappropriate use of these technologies. They should complement and enhance human interaction, not replace it. We need to find that balance between leveraging the power of technology and preserving those essential human elements of learning, like connection and social emotional development.
It's like with anything else, right? Moderation is key.
Right.
We don't want kids becoming so dependent on technology that they lose those abilities to interact with the real world or to build meaningful relationships with others.
Exactly. We need to be mindful of those risks while also embracing the incredible opportunities that these technologies offer. It's a very delicate balance, and it requires ongoing dialogue and collaboration and a lot of critical thinking.
It sounds like we're really just scratching the surface here of what's possible. But we need to proceed with both enthusiasm and caution. So where do we go from here? What are the next steps in shaping the future of education for kids with ASD?
Well, I think the key is to keep learning, to keep innovating, and most importantly, to keep listening to the voices of those who are most impacted by these technologies. We need to involve children with ASD and their families, educators, researchers, all working together to make sure that these tools are used ethically, responsibly, and effectively.
That's a powerful message. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it to create a more inclusive and equitable world. For all learners, well, this deep dive has been an incredible journey. We've explored the potential, the challenges,
Yeah.
and the ethical considerations
Right.
of using AR, VR, and robotics in education for children with ASD.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you, and I hope this deep dive has sparked some new ideas and inspired you to think critically about the role of technology in shaping the future of education.
And to all of our listeners out there, we encourage you to keep exploring these ideas and to engage in these important conversations about the future of learning. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.